I stood at the altar like someone signing her own surrender. My dress felt unbearably heavy, not from the fabric, but from the weight of promises I never chose to make. In front of me, the man in a black suit slipped a ring onto my trembling finger, the same man who had once destroyed my life without remorse. "Congratulations," he said coldly. Applause followed, sweet and fake, echoing in my chest like laughter at a funeral. Above me, the ceiling shone white and cruel. My mother was lying in a hospital bed miles away, her heartbeat flickering between life and silence. He held my hand just long enough for the photographers to capture the lie. His fingers were warm but carried no comfort. The orchestra played softly, a dull blade slicing through the air. Guests smiled, flowers smelled like sugar. I wanted to run, back to the hospital, to the woman I was dying to save. I married him, not for love, but for breath. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe, so you won't miss the upcoming stories. For the next video, what kind of story do you love the most? Tell me in the comments. His name was Arden Hale, a name people whispered with admiration, fear, or both. In business magazines, he was a genius. To me, he was a storm that never stopped following my life. Years ago, when my father's company collapsed overnight, every rumor pointed to him. Arden cut the deal, they said. Arden pulled the strings. That night, my father broke, not his body, but his spirit. I remember the sound of the phone crashing, my mother's trembling prayers, and me, the girl who learned that tears could be swallowed whole. 3 months ago, doctors told me my mother's kidneys were dying, wilting like flowers that had forgotten how to bloom. Transplant, they said, or time will run out. I calculated. I begged. I worked. But love doesn't pay hospital bills. Then one night, Arden came to me like a ghost with an offer. "Marry me," he said. 3 years. After that, you're free. Your mother's treatment, fully covered. His tone was calm, almost bored. Like buying me was just another business deal. I signed the contract with shaking hands. Every clause was a cage, no personal questions, no outside relationships, no breaking the illusion. I read the words, thinking of my mother's pale face and uneven breathing. Happiness could wait, her life could not. So I became his wife. Our wedding night was not a celebration, but a ceasefire. He gave me a separate room in his mansion, a vast, cold house that smelled of silence. "You can have anything you want," he said, eyes still on his phone. "You're free." Freedom, I learned, can also be a prison. I locked my door that night and sat beneath the chandelier's cruel light. I didn't cry. My tears had a purpose now, and that purpose was survival. Arden treated me with perfect politeness, the kind that felt colder than cruelty. He never raised his voice, never touched me unless required by appearance. But he noticed things. The empty glass on my bedside table was replaced before I woke. My favorite dish, spicy fried fish with garlic, appeared on the table every Wednesday, though I never told anyone I liked it. Hatred began to blur. It's hard to hate someone who quietly remembers the details of your life. I told myself, don't soften. He's the enemy. The mirror didn't argue, but the girl in it began to look confused. The mansion was full of secrets. Portraits of strangers watched from the walls. A grand clock ticked like it feared moving forward. And one afternoon, while exploring the library, I found something strange, an old photo tucked between 2 dusty books. It was me, in my school uniform, smiling shyly at the camera. Beside me stood a teenage boy, taller, half smiling. Arden, I froze. I had no memory of this photo being taken. Don't stay in there too long, came his voice from the doorway. I turned, startled. He leaned against the frame, sleeves rolled up, eyes unreadable. Dust is bad for your lungs. Lies are worse, I muttered before I could stop myself. He tilted his head, a ghost of a smile crossing his lips, not kind, not cruel, just knowing. Rest, he said, and left. That night, I hid the photo under my pillow like a guilty child hiding candy. I dreamt of rain, red umbrellas, and a boy who turned back once before walking away. In the morning, I remembered nothing but the ache it left behind. Days turned into patterns. I visited my mother every evening, bringing her flowers she couldn't smell anymore. Sometimes Arden joined me, standing at the door, saying nothing. "You should rest," he'd say. "I'll stay with her." I hated that his voice sounded sincere. One night, when exhaustion pinned me to the corridor chair, he brought me coffee. "Don't fall apart," he said quietly. "She needs your hand steady." I hated him for caring. And yet, when he left, the hallway felt colder. At the hospital, I once overheard him arguing with someone, a man in a gray suit. "You're risking everything for her," the man said sharply. "You think this will fix the past?" "I don't need it fixed," Arden replied, calm but tight. "I just need her safe." They noticed me. The conversation ended. But the words stuck, crawling under my skin. That night, rain painted the windows silver. "Why are you helping me?" I asked as he drove me home. "Because I can," he said. "There are many who can." None of them did. He didn't answer. The rain spoke for both of us. The next week, his assistant accidentally left a folder on the dining table. "Project, Greywood, Reinvestigation," the label read. My heart stopped. Greywood was the name of my father's company, the one Arden supposedly destroyed. I hesitated, then opened it. Inside were documents, photographs, financial charts. One image froze my breath. My father signing a contract with a stamp reading "Cancelled, third-party interference." Third party? Who? I flipped the page and found another note, a printed email. "Keep Hale's name out of this. He's covering for the girl." My hands trembled. Covering for me? None of it made sense. Why would my enemy protect me? At midnight, I stood outside Arden's study. The door was locked. His footsteps echoed faintly from the hallway. I had learned his schedule, he was always asleep by 1. I picked the lock, badly, nervously, and slipped inside. The room smelled of paper and cologne. Files lined the walls. I found another folder labeled RB, Confidential. My father's initials. I opened it. Letters, emails, and a handwritten note, "Mr. Bogas, don't take the blame. I'll close this door myself so your daughter doesn't suffer for my father's sins." The signature was Arden's. I sank into his chair. My heartbeat roared in my ears. If this was true, then everything I believed, every sleepless night hating him, was built on lies. Arden hadn't ruined us. He had ruined himself to protect me. "Why are you here?" His voice cracked the silence. I looked up. He stood by the door, tie loose, eyes shadowed by fatigue. "That room is locked for a reason." "I couldn't sleep," I said, voice trembling. "Clearly." I held up the letter. "Is this yours?" He looked at it for a long time, exhaling slowly. "Something I should have burned years ago," he said. "Something you wouldn't understand if I explained too soon." "You ended my life too soon," I whispered. He stepped closer, closing the door behind him. The soft click echoed like a confession. "You've misunderstood more than you realize," he said. "And I let you. Because if you knew everything, you'd hate me differently." "How many ways can I hate you?" "Enough for 3 years." Silence filled the space between us. He leaned against the desk, weary, almost human. For the first time, I saw the cracks beneath his control. "My father," he began, "is the man you've been searching for." "Adifir Hale," I said quietly. He didn't flinch. "Yes. So all this time, I closed doors I should have opened, and opened others I should have left shut," he said softly. "To keep you out. You destroyed my father. I saved you. You saved me by breaking my family?" My voice shook. "Sometimes," he said, meeting my eyes, "the only way to stop a fire is to let one house burn." "My house," I said bitterly. "Your house. Or you." I wanted to slap him. To scream. To demand why he thought he had the right to decide my fate. But in his eyes, I saw something deeper than guilt, a wound older than mine. A wound shaped like love that never had a chance. His phone rang. He answered quickly. Yes, this is Arden Hale. His face changed. We're on our way. He turned to me. It's your mother. We drove through the city in silence. Lights blurred, rain fell harder. My heart pounded in prayers I didn't know how to form. When we reached the hospital, the corridor lights were too bright. Machines beeped like anxious hearts. Mom, I called softly, clutching her cold hand. I'm here. Please stay. Arden stood behind me, saying nothing, his presence the only thing keeping me from falling apart. Time lost its meaning. Then, her eyelids fluttered open. My child, she whispered, her voice a fragile thread. Don't keep hatred in the same drawer as forgiveness. A tear rolled down her cheek, and I caught it with shaking fingers. Mom, I said, if you knew what he did. She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that already knows the answer. Then forgive anyway. Her eyes closed again. This time, the monitor didn't cry out. It hummed gently, as if singing her to sleep. Outside the room, I sat on the cold floor, my gown stained with tears. Arden crouched beside me. If she asks tomorrow why you married me, he said quietly, what will you tell her? That I did it to save her life, I murmured. And if she asks why I married you? I don't know. He hesitated. Because it was the only way I could keep you safe. Safe from what? He looked away. From the truth. The night stretched long and cruel. At dawn, I walked into his study again. The same folder, RB, confidential, lay open. Beneath it, an envelope sealed in brown wax, my name written in his handwriting. For Aurora, open when you're ready to forgive. My name. I tore it open. Inside was a faded Polaroid, a teenage girl holding a red umbrella, smiling under the rain. Beside her, a boy shielding her with his hand. On the back, words in blue ink, I never came to destroy you, Aurora. I only wanted to make sure you got home, wet, but whole. My knees gave out. I sat on the floor, clutching the photo like a relic. When I looked up, Arden was standing at the door. His eyes were tired, his tie undone. You shouldn't have opened that, he said softly. It's too late, I whispered. Since when did you protect me from the rain you caused? He stepped closer, his voice breaking. Since the day the one who was supposed to protect you sold you instead. And it wasn't me. Who was it? He opened a drawer, pulled out a red file stamped confidential, and placed it between us. If you want the truth, it's in here, he said. But once you read it, you'll never hate me the same way again. The room went quiet. My hand hovered over the file, shaking. The phone in my pocket vibrated violently. A call from Dr. Sarah. I looked at Arden. He nodded. Answer it. Hello? My voice cracked. Mrs. Hale, came the doctor's trembling voice. You need to come right now. There's something you must hear about your mother's last message. The call went silent for a heartbeat, the kind that divides before and after. And on the desk, the red file remained unopened, waiting for the truth no one was ready to face. The red file waited on the desk like an open wound, but the sound of the doctor's voice was louder than everything else inside my skull. Arden's eyes met mine, no words, only fear that neither of us dared to name. We ran. Through the storm, through the empty streets that smelled of wet asphalt and unfinished prayers. By the time we reached the hospital, the hallway lights were dim. The nurse pointed to the waiting room. She left a recording, she whispered. My chest hollowed as Dr. Sarah pressed play. My mother's voice cracked like soft glass. Aurora, if you're hearing this, it means I've gone where pain cannot reach. My child, forgive him. The man you married is not your enemy. He saved you once before you knew what danger meant. Don't let hatred become your inheritance. The recording ended with a sigh that sounded like rain fading into quiet. I couldn't cry. I just stood there, hollow, the truth too large for my lungs. Arden took a step toward me. She knew, he said quietly. About everything. I turned on him, shaking. Then why didn't you tell me? Why let me drown in hate? Because you would never have stayed long enough to understand. Understanding isn't the same as forgiveness, I whispered. No, he said, but it's where forgiveness begins. For hours, I sat beside my mother's bed, holding her cooling hand, watching machines that no longer meant life. Arden waited in the hallway, head bowed, his shadow folded against the wall. When morning came, I found him asleep in the chair outside, one hand clutching the red file like a man afraid of losing the last piece of his soul. At home, silence replaced air. I opened the file. Pages of confessions, transfers, signatures, his father's crimes laid out in black and white. And there, at the end, a note written in Arden's handwriting. For every lie he built, I'll build a truth, even if it costs me you. I closed it slowly. You could have chosen an easier redemption, I murmured. I didn't want an easier one, he answered from the doorway. Days blurred. The mansion felt like a museum of echoes. He cooked breakfast he never ate, asked questions I couldn't answer. Grief sat between us like a guest that refused to leave. Yet every evening he still waited by the window when I came home from the hospital paperwork. One night I found him on the balcony, staring at the city's soft glow. I'll confess publicly, he said. They'll take everything, but they'll clear your father's name. And when it's over? Then I'll disappear, if that's what peace requires. I stepped beside him. My mother wouldn't have wanted you to vanish. She would have wanted you free. I said, and realized it was almost true. Weeks later, the headlines screamed, "Heir exposes family corruption." Cameras followed him into court. I watched from the last bench, unseen. When the verdict came, his father's name was dragged through every page of history, and my father's was lifted out of the mud. Justice tasted strange, like something sweet after too much salt. After the trial, Arden found me outside. Rain began again, thin and endless. He handed me the red umbrella. You shouldn't stand in the rain. You always say that, I replied. It's the only way I know how to love. We walked without speaking. The city glimmered like forgiveness. At the corner, I stopped. You can't disappear, I said. Not after all this. He smiled sadly. Then tell me what to do. Stay, I whispered. He did. Months passed. The mansion was gone, we lived in a small house with windows that actually opened. Sometimes I caught him staring at nothing, as if counting the years he had lost. Sometimes I woke from dreams of my mother's voice saying, "Love where it hurts." One evening I stood in the doorway, watching him fix the crooked frame of our only photograph, the one under the red umbrella. You still keep it? I asked. He nodded. It reminds me that even storms have color. I walked over, placed my hand on his chest, feeling the quiet rhythm beneath. You paid for his sins. You rebuilt everything he broke. And you forgave everything I was, he said. Outside, thunder rolled far away, harmless now. I took the umbrella from the hook, opened it over us though the sky was clear. We can stop running from the rain, I said. Arden smiled. Or we can learn to dance in it. So we did, two broken people under a red umbrella, laughing for the first time without guilt. And for the first time, love didn't feel like punishment. It felt like coming home. The phone's glow died in my palm, and the silence around us seemed to thicken, as if the house had begun holding its breath for me. The red file waited on the desk like a warning flare. I stared at it until the letters blurred, until my name on the envelope beneath it looked like someone else's life. Arden didn't speak. He stood there with his hands at his sides, as if any movement might shatter the last fragile thing between us. We should go, he said at last. If we wait, the words will sour. To the hospital? I asked, though I already knew. He nodded. We moved through the corridors of the night like two people trespassing in our own story. Outside, rain stitched the city into one fabric. The car smelled faintly of bergamot and paper, his coat was damp. We said nothing. I counted streetlights because numbers, unlike hearts, don't change their minds. Dr. Sarah met us with kind eyes and a voice softened by midnight. She didn't lead us to my mother's room, she led us to a smaller room with a chair and a lamp that turned everyone into a confession. On the table lay a recorder and a single key. She asked me to keep this, the doctor said, touching the key. For you. For what? My voice came out thin. The box by her bed. When we entered the room, my mother looked asleep, the kind they never wake from. I pressed my forehead to her hand until the cold seeped through and made me honest. The box sat on the table by the window, a small wooden thing with a scratch on its lid where her wedding ring had once caught. I used the key. Inside were folded letters tied with thread, a faded photo of me at 7 laughing, and one envelope addressed, "For when the rain finally tells the truth." I opened it. My brave girl, it began, if the world feels hollow after this, place your ear to it, like a seashell. You'll still hear love inside. Forgive the boy with the storm in his surname. He has been carrying water with his hands for years. He will fail you in obvious ways and save you in quieter ones. Don't confuse the two. When you are ready, tell him you know about the red umbrella. I set the letter down like it might bruise. The rain pressed its face against the glass, curious. Behind me, Arden stood at the foot of the bed with his head bowed. I watched his reflection in the window, tall, wary, a man who had learned to hold his guilt like a lantern. She knew, I said. She always did, he replied. We stayed until morning dyed the hallway a tired gold. On our way out, I touched the box again, as if gratitude could pass through wood. In the car, I cradled the letters like a small, breakable animal. Arden drove slowly, as if speed could insult grief. At home, I didn't sleep. I carried the red file to the kitchen, made tea I forgot to drink, and read every page until the story stopped resisting. Bank transfers and phone logs. Minutes of meetings where men arranged outcomes like furniture. A confession drafted in a handwriting that looked like a door finally deciding to open. And tucked behind it, a photograph I hadn't seen, a teenage boy holding a red umbrella over a girl's head. Her face tilted upward, the rain turning her hair into dark ribbon. Their shoulders nearly touching. On the back, in ink faded to smoke, I will walk behind you so no one sees the storm I take. When Arden came in, his shirt sleeves were rolled, his throat bare of the usual armor. He looked at the photograph and then at me, and the years between us seemed to fold like a map. I remember, I said. It was after I slipped on the steps. You didn't say anything, you just walked me home and left before the door opened. You were crying, he murmured. You didn't need another audience. You've been doing that ever since, haven't you? Carrying weather. I have poor taste in hobbies, he said, and tried to smile, but it broke. He told the board that afternoon. He told the prosecutors 2 days later. News trucks bloomed outside like flowers that had made a pact with asphalt. Headlines called him a traitor and a saint, and then, bored of extremes, a complicated man. In the courtroom, I sat behind him and watched his back brace under each question. When they asked why now, he said, because truth was the last inheritance I could choose. My father's name was cleared in a paragraph not big enough to hold a life. I cut the clipping and placed it in the wooden box, beneath my mother's letter, between the child I had been and the woman I was trying to become. Outside the courthouse, Arden offered me his hand without looking at my face, as if the gesture itself might be refused. I took it. It felt like crossing a small, honest bridge. We sold the mansion. The realtor loved the echo in the foyer, I loved closing the door. Our new place had crooked floors and a balcony that pointed at the weather like a nose. The first night, I unpacked the red umbrella and leaned it in the corner by the door, where it could keep watch. Arden assembled a table with instructions that assumed better people. We argued about the legs, then laughed the way exhausted people do when laughter cures nothing but still chooses you. Mornings were quiet. He brewed coffee and stared at the steam as if it might tell him the rest of his life. I clipped basil leaves from a pot and spoke to them the way my mother had spoken to dough, tenderly, like you could persuade the world to rise. Some days, grief came late and left early, other days, it walked through the rooms like a landlord. We learned to keep 2 chairs open, one for sorrow, one for its shadow. He began volunteering at a legal clinic, teaching small business owners how not to be eaten. I started a scholarship in my mother's name for girls who were good at surviving. The application asked one question: what storm did you learn to pronounce? We read essays at the table and cried as if we'd discovered a new organ just for that. On our first spring in the small apartment, I found Arden on the balcony at dawn, coatless, as if daring the cold to make a point. The city looked scrubbed. I dreamt about him, he said without turning. He asked if I was proud of the mess I'd made cleaning his mess. What did you say? That I wish redemption paid hourly. It doesn't, I said. It pays in windows. He looked over his shoulder. So that's why you open them even when it rains. Especially when it rains. There were still fractures. One evening, he found me in the hallway staring at the clipped article, unable to move for reasons I couldn't name. He didn't live to see it, I said. What's the arithmetic of a justice that arrives after the bell? He came to stand beside me. It's not arithmetic, he said. It's a letter arriving with the right name, even if the door has changed. I turned into him then, and he let me. We stood like that in the narrow light, 2 people listening to the hum of a refrigerator and calling it faith. Summer bruised into autumn. Work called, courts called, the lemon tree on the balcony failed and then, out of sheer stubbornness, tried again. We learned each other's ghosts by the sounds they made. The click of his pen when he wanted to apologize, the way I folded dish towels when I wanted to disappear. Sometimes we failed with ceremony. Sometimes we got it right without noticing. On the anniversary of my mother's last night, we went to the cemetery before the rain decided. I read her letter aloud because sacred things are not diminished by repetition. He saved you once before you knew what danger meant, I recited, voice steady, power borrowed. Tell him you know about the red umbrella. I placed the photograph between the flowers and the earth, just long enough for memory to recognize itself, then tucked it back into my coat. Arden cleared the small weeds around the stone with lawyerly precision. Thank you, he told the ground, as if gratitude could travel downward. On the way home he drove slower than usual, one hand on the wheel, one hand open on the console like a promise with no contract around it. I slid my fingers into his palm and left them there, and no one asked for a witness. That night the storm returned, not violent, just thorough. I opened the balcony door and held the umbrella inside the threshold. He laughed softly. Superstition, he said. Choice, I corrected. We stood under the red circle together and watched the rain write its 1,000 alphabets across the streetlights. He whispered into the fabric above us, I didn't know a house could be built after a bridge burns. It's the only kind that holds, I said. The kind that learned the shape of falling. He kissed my temple. It tasted like water and something I hadn't named yet. When winter came, the clinic offered him a position that paid in dignity more than anything else. He took it. I added another seat to my scholarship fund and named it for a girl whose application had been a single sentence, I am still here. On Tuesdays, we made soup. On Thursdays, we called it stew and pretended it was different. On Sundays, we walked to the market and bought too much bread from a woman who called me Sayang as if the city had decided to adopt me. One afternoon, a young woman stopped us on the street, breath turning to ribbons in the cold. Are you Aurora? She asked. I got your scholarship. I wanted to say, she faltered. I took her hand. You don't owe me words, I said. Just a window with your name on it. After she left, Arden said, you build better companies than I ever did. I build smaller ones, I replied. Ones that fit. We marked time with ordinary ceremonies, a repaired chair, a recipe that finally remembered itself, a drawer that stopped catching. The red file lived in the back of the closet now, not as a secret, but as a former address. Some nights, the closet breathed too loudly and I lay awake. He would wake, too, without pretending he didn't. "Tell me a truth," he'd say into the dark. "That I hate olives," I'd answer, smiling. "Tell me a harder truth." "That I was loneliest when everyone believed the wrong story about us." He would pull me closer until loneliness got embarrassed and left the room. The following spring, the city held one of those polite rains, the kind that thinks of children and does not soak the book in your bag. We passed my old school by accident. The gate had been repainted a hopeful blue. A girl ran out with a red umbrella and a grin so wide it looked like a dare. I watched her take the steps 2 at a time, and something inside me stood up. "Do you want to go back?" Arden asked. "I am back," I said, surprised to find it true. We walked home slowly. The rain had decided we were trustworthy and fell less carefully. At the door, I shook the umbrella and leaned it in its corner. Arden unlocked the apartment, then paused, half in, half out, like a man deciding whether to move in or apologize. "What?" I asked. "I keep thinking," he said, voice low, "that there must be a better word than sorry for a person who was the fire and then the hands carrying water." "There is," I said, stepping past him into the light. "The word is stay." He did. And staying, we learned, is a verb you conjugate daily. On our kitchen wall, between a calendar too hopeful and a painting a friend gifted us out of pity, we taped a small scrap of paper where we took turns writing the names we gave our days. Begin again. Quiet courage. No one is a villain before breakfast. We wrote them in pencil because miracles like to be edited. Sometimes I still dream of the old house and wake up tasting marble. I sit on the balcony and let the wind arrange my hair into truths. He brings a blanket and wraps it around both of us without ceremony. "What did the weather say?" he asks. "That it will come back," I answer. "And that we will, too." In the end, there was no grand gesture, no orchestra forgiven for its earlier cruelty. Just this, a small apartment with stubborn windows, a lemon tree that finally decided to believe us, a red umbrella that learned to rest. His hand steadying my cup as I pour. My laughter leaving a light on in rooms he once feared. The record of our wrong beginnings folded carefully into a box where love stores its homework. If you asked what changed me, I would tell you it wasn't the verdict or the headlines or the way the city softened when we stopped demanding it be different. It was a single sentence in my mother's letter that grew roots: forgive where you can. Love where it hurts. I did not learn it all at once. I learn it every time it rains. And when it does, we don't run. We open the door. We let the weather in. We stand shoulder to shoulder under a circle of red, not to stay dry, but to stay together. Sometimes we close the umbrella and simply lift our faces. The storm goes on saying what storms have always said: I am here. So do we.